I only really knew about Jeff Nelson, the founder of VegSource.com, because he happened to troll that vegan couple and shit all over them a few years ago for being too mean. Yes, that vegan couple, two of the nicest people I've ever met. He thinks they're too mean to the carnists. He thinks that veganism is defined as a dietary choice and not necessarily an ethical stance. That vegan couple boycott animal products because of their philosophy, whereas people like VegSource do it for the health benefits. And honestly, they are not even vegans as I think of them. He's more of a plant-based dieter. He claims in his videos that ethical vegans are preventing the word vegan from going more mainstream because we call meat eaters what they are, selfish imposers of torture. He doesn't like that, and he keeps trying to redefine vegan to mean something like what Kevin Smith or Bill Clinton were doing. People who were so sick from their flesh eating that they were forced to adopt a vegan or plant-based diet. He doesn't like it when vegans get angry about the animal holocaust, so essentially he's defending the abusers. He believes vegans should have a judgment-free attitude about all of this killing and torturing that's going on. As Luca and Natasha have said, adopting a vegan diet because you have diabetes is not the same thing as boycotting leather, the circus, the pet industry, etc. People who do that are taking an ethical stance against animal exploitation. Someone who eats a vegan diet is not necessarily the same kind of person who would say, "I am a vegan," and identify themselves as animal rights activists. So anyways, this guy's a douche and a breeder 3 times over. So he's not living an ethical lifestyle, he just wants to be a contrarian, just like the unnaturally stupid vegan, to get some views. So in this video, he defends human biological experiments that lead to guaranteed suffering and harm, and then, of course, he gives zero justification for this stance.
The idea has somehow developed in vegan social media that there's a connection between getting a vasectomy and veganism. And before we go further, let's talk about what veganism means. Basically, it means not consuming animals and trying not to use or otherwise exploit animals. So it's about eating a vegan diet primarily, and then doing the best you can not to contribute to animal suffering. So what's vasectomy? Vasectomy is sterilization. It's a surgical procedure that seals off tubes in your body so that sperm are blocked off and can't leave your body to cause pregnancy. Now, I haven't come across any definition of veganism that says to be vegan, you must sterilize yourself.
So he unknowingly just gave the justification for vegans getting vasectomies right there. It's about not using or exploiting animals. So Jeff Nelson doesn't seem to understand that human beings are animals. What's causing his cognitive dissonance is his Pollyannaism, or as it's also known, the optimism bias. It's like a meat eater who doesn't believe that their foul treats come from giant rooms where animals are beaten and killed. Because nursing homes and cancer units are hidden away from public view, he thinks that they don't exist. He's under the mistaken impression that life has some sort of positive net value. He's so egotistical that he thinks he's doing something important by not using birth control and having kids. To be vegan, you have to prevent harm if it is within your ability to do so. Veganism is philosophically against unnecessary harm to animals. Vasectomy is the most effective, low-cost, least invasive way to accomplish this for sexually active couples. He really can't see this obvious point because his mind is so clouded by cultural natalism.
But there are a number of different vegan channels out there where the hosts talk about having gotten a vasectomy, and some even trying to suggest that it was sort of, a noble thing to do because they don't think people should be bringing children into the world, and because by not raising kids, now they have more time to spend helping animals by making videos on YouTube.
Being able to have time to spread the vegan message to a wider audience, such as via YouTube videos and other social media avenues.
It's not to say that you can't do that with kids, but you have so much more time.
That's right.
And energy. So this is really our passion, and yeah, we just didn't think that the world needed more children.
These people don't want to have children, and that's fine. That's their personal choice. The idea of not having children allowing you to make more vegan YouTube videos, okay, sure. The idea that a choice around vasectomies is somehow related to veganism or the animals, that I do not personally buy. To me, people trying to conflate veganism and vasectomy are kind of silly. You want to have kids? Great, have kids. You don't want to have kids? Great, don't have kids. But it's not part of veganism, and someone isn't a saint because they decide to have or not to have children.
So then he uses air quotes when he says helping animals. What he's saying here first is an ad hom attack on people who get sterilized so that they will have more time to make YouTube videos, while also insinuating that making YouTube videos does nothing to help animals. Tell that to Gary Yourofsky, Durianrider, or even Vegan Gains, all of whom have converted a great many people to veganism. But I will give Jeff Nelson credit that he did pick up on a problem with channels like Durianrider and That Vegan Couple, and that they tend to live a permanent vacation lifestyle, and have said many times in their videos that their carefree, minimalist life is one of the main reasons why they got sterilized. So these vegans are missing the point entirely about why procreation is an objective and serious harm. They do seem to be more concerned with their own lives and not those of the unborn. But at least both of them try to convince people who want kids to at least adopt rather than making more people. They're thinking more of the practical reasons, or what is also called local antinatalist issues like overpopulation and environmental pollution. He's mocking people who get sterilized because he doesn't understand that vasectomy leads to less suffering. His children have apparently so far stayed vegetarian, but he has no control over them or their children or their children's children. And we know for a fact that all 3 of his kids are going to suffer and die before long. They'll contribute nothing positive, they'll outweigh the negatives of existence, and he has no idea what kind of suffering they or their progeny will go through in the future. So yes, Jeff, getting a vasectomy is a guaranteed win for all animals, human and non-human. None of my non-existent children will suffer and die, and no animals will be murdered because of them. Antinatalist vegans are by far the most decent people I have personally ever encountered. People who understand ethics are going to be antinatalist and ethical vegans, because causing unnecessary suffering is illogical. Jeff Nelson, by creating sentient beings, has set in motion a chain of events that will lead to a large number of people and animals suffering and dying. He has no guarantee that his children will not harm animals. They of course will, incidentally, as we all do just by existing. So surely he must address this point, right?
Having kids with something to do with veganism is a little offensive. Unfortunately, the connection of vasectomy to veganism contributes to the appearance that vegans are kooks, that they're part of a cult, that they're weird or self-important, and I would agree. Certain vegans can be weird as That's because, to me, it's weird and cult-like to connect the desire to have a family or not with being vegan.
This is ironic because having children is the most obvious sign that someone is reckless and a selfish egomaniac. How is not starting a fire being self-important? So it's weird and cult-like to recognize an obvious problem and then do something about it. Okay.
One of the terrible things that they do in cults is to try to control the sexual behavior of people, like who you can have sex with, whether or not you can have kids, and reproductive control over another human being is quite possibly the ultimate in control that you can have over someone. So I think it is a valid criticism of vegan social media that those vegans who are promoting vasectomies as being vegan, that they are sort of beyond the fringe and beyond the pale.
Forcing someone to live in a violent sewer against his or her will is the ultimate control over someone, fucker. You're playing God with someone else's life.
But he's got no answer for vegan birth control other than vasectomy, at least in this video that I watched. And this is a doctor who strongly associates himself with being vegan. He has a website, veganmd.com. This was his website for many years. I hosted it for him on my server. This is a vegan MD telling kids vasectomy is the vegan thing to do.
This is a dishonest criticism. He is missing Gregor's point, which is that men should take responsibility for procreation and birth control instead of forcing women to do so.
Oh, you're thinking of having kids? Really? Oh. It's sort of like, is having kids vegan? I didn't, you were actually thinking about that? So this is kind of simplistic thinking to me, and it's irresponsible. And this kind of flippant advice has the potential to damage people.
What's worse, someone having to find another hobby than making babies, oh, the humanity, or making a kid who has leukemia? I'm facepalming all over the place. So then he talks about one of the most disappointing vegan people on YouTube, this douche, Derek, who is most famous for being married to High Carb Hannah, a female with a popular channel. So here he is wearing glasses without lenses. So he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer to begin with. Back in 2016, he got a vasectomy, which was a smart decision, but then he met a woman who went on a drug vacation and then decided she wanted a baby. I talked about this in a previous video. Drug trips always lead to good decisions, don't they? And now he's gotten his vasectomy reversed, which cost many thousands of dollars, and he's still thankfully shooting blanks. This is the crux of Nelson's idiotic video, vasectomy regret, and he's blaming that vegan couple and Durianrider for this. Well, nobody forced this idiot to get snipped, and clearly it's because he's under pressure from his wife that he got it reversed. But that doesn't even matter because he didn't even try to argue against the ethical reasons for not breeding. If I could sterilize all of the animals on Earth without their consent, I would feel obligated to do it because the amount of suffering it would prevent would be astronomical. His argument is kind of like someone saying that if they convince someone to go vegan or forego murdering animals, that would be bad because that person may someday regret that they missed out on all those hot dogs they could have been eating the whole time. Who cares if someone regrets the fact that they couldn't torture and murder someone? You prevented it. That's what matters. Durianrider actually made a great response video to this part, so I'll just link that down below. But clearly this guy just wants to keep having sex with this woman and will do whatever it takes to accomplish that, including becoming a massive hypocrite. All three of these egotistical, plant-based life imposers are illogical and evil. So I had to make a comment on this video, which led to a very unproductive thread. It started off like they usually do. Sometimes I really wonder what the fuck is wrong with some vegans.